In this video, I will try to explain the differences between the two most popular treks of Nepal, the Annapurna Circuit trek and the Everest Base Camp Trek. I also hope to help you decide which trek is more suited for you. Everest. The first biggest difference is the area. If you're flying to Kathmandu, you can see straight away. All the way in your east, you can find the Mount Everest region, and all the way in your west, you can find the Pokhara and the Annapurna region. So this is straight away faces the first big difference. They're in a completely different area of Nepal, a completely different mountain range, even though they're both the Himalayas, of course. With this big difference in region, you can see the biggest difference already. On the Annapurna Circuit trek, you can start at an altitude of around 850 meters. You hike all the way up, and it takes you a few weeks until you reach the highest point of the trek, the Torangla at 5,400 meters, and which after you straight away descend all the way down again to 3,000 meters. But in the Everest region, the Khumbu region, you start very high at 2,700 meters and you climb all the way to Namche, and you're going higher, all the way to the Everest Base Camp at 5,364 meters, or even higher if you're climbing some side treks. And only after you completed the whole hike, on the way back, you're going lower than 3,000 meters again. So the Annapurna Circuit is you're slowly climbing all the way to the highest point, which after you descend down straight away, or you're starting higher and you're being on a very high altitude all the time with some higher peaks in between. This brings us to the second big difference, how to reach the areas. Well, if you want to go to the Annapurna area, it's quite easy. You can take a bus to Pokhara and from there take a bus to Base Zahar, the starting point of the trek, which takes around 8 hours to Pokhara and maybe 4 hours more to Base Zahar, or take a jeep straight away from Kathmandu to Base Zahar. I don't know how much time that will take, but I think it won't be more than 8 hours of driving. So it's relatively easy to reach the Annapurna Circuit from where you can start hiking. To reach Lukla, however, is quite a lot more difficult. You can take a car all the way to Jiri and start walking from there, which is a 24-hour jeep or bus drive, and then I think 5 or 6 more days of hiking to reach Lukla, the starting point of the trek. Or you can fly to Lukla, the most dangerous airport of the world, which takes only 30 minutes but costs $180. While going to the Annapurna Circuit, I think won't be costing more than $15, maybe $20, but I think a lot less if you take the bus. So the Annapurna Circuit is way easier to reach than the Khumbu region. The next very big difference is a road. Most of you probably already heard, but on the Annapurna Circuit they built a road all the way to Manang. Manang is located quite close to the Torangla Pass. So all the way to Manang you can see jeeps and other cars driving and bringing tourists and other stuff on there. While on the Khumbu region, everything has to be carried by yaks or either helicopter. There's no car road there. You can just walk there or fly there, which makes it a different experience. It's harder to reach and you have to put more effort in going there. The road for some people can ruin the experience a bit because it's not that desolate anymore. But it doesn't mean there's a lot of road walking involved in the Annapurna Circuit. They built the road on the other side of the river on most places than the walking path. So you don't have to walk on the road, but yeah, you can see the traffic sometimes. 4 years ago it didn't bother me that much, but being on the Everest region with no roads made it a bit more special for me. But this road is not just a downside for the Annapurna Circuit, because that way they can bring food and stuff easier into the mountains, which makes it a bit more cheap. On the Annapurna Circuit we had quite a lot of times that if we ate somewhere, dinner and breakfast, we could sleep there for free. On the Everest region this only happened once. So I think the Annapurna region is a little bit more cheap. Also to get there, it's way cheaper than to Lukla, and I think the whole circuit trek is also a bit cheaper than the Khumbu region because the Khumbu region is so desolate and so hard to reach. All the stuff you eat there, you drink there has to be carried there. so that makes it quite a bit more expensive. So if you want to go for the cheaper option, Annapurna Circuit is there. The guide. This is a big thing recently. They made a new rule saying that you need a guide everywhere in Nepal if you want to go hiking. But then the Khumbu region said, no, we're not going to implement this rule here. So in the Khumbu region, as of today, you don't have to take a guide to walk there. You can go there on your own, you can do your solo treks. They say it's needed at the Annapurna Circuit, but so far it's not implemented as well. They said this new law will start last April, but now it's May and still people go there without a guide, without any problems. So you don't need a guide for both of the treks at this moment, but it can change in the future. So both treks are equally challenging technical wise, but the EBC is quite a bit higher. If you're not experienced with the altitude at all, maybe that's why you want to choose a guide. But I think if you're experienced enough, both are very easily doable and traceable without a guide. And then the views, maybe one of the most important differences of the whole trekking. Well, first of all, both treks have crazy beautiful views. At the Annapurna Circuit you can see the beautiful Annapurna mountains and some other very high and beautiful mountains. And you pass through some nice villages and you can see the rice fields and it's very beautiful all the way. So Annapurna region, you have beautiful views the whole time. But then on the Everest Base Camp Trek you can see even higher mountains because you can see the highest mountain of the world. And the Everest is also surrounded by quite a few other 8,000 meters. Both of the treks have beautiful views, but I was a bit more impressed by the Everest Base Camp Trek views than the Annapurna Circuit Trek. But if you would grade it, I would say the Annapurna Circuit is a 9 and the Everest Base Camp Trek is a 9.5 or a 10 even. If you take a look at both of my videos, you can decide for yourself, of course. Views wise, they're both very beautiful, but I would say the Everest Base Camp Trek is a little bit more impressive. Side treks. Both hikes offer nice side treks. The Annapurna Circuit itself is a 220 kilometer long trek. Most people only do the 130-140 kilometer part, but you have a lot of nice side treks there. You can either visit Poon Hill or you can do the Annapurna Base Camp. You can do the Manaslu Circuit and combine it with that. So you have a lot of side treks there. And on the Everest Base Camp Trek you have a lot of side treks as well. You can make it into a longer and higher 3 passes trek. I would strongly suggest to add the Gokyo and the Chola with the EBC because it's very beautiful. You can do the Island Peak or even only the Island Peak Base Camp, Ranjola, so there are a lot of options. So both hikes are not just the hike, you have plenty of options to choose from. And then the conclusion. Both hikes are the 2 most beautiful treks I've ever done. The Annapurna region is a bit easier to reach, but the Everest Base Camp views are a little bit more impressive. The Annapurna region might be a little bit cheaper, but the Everest Base Camp Trek doesn't have a road. I would say the Annapurna Circuit Trek is a little bit easier, but still a very impressive and exhausting hike to do. And the Everest Base Camp Trek is a little bit more exhausting because you're at that high altitude for a long time. The Annapurna Base Camp has a more diverse landscape and the Everest Base Camp is more the really high mountains and the views. So the Annapurna region has a nice scenery, but the Everest Base Camp Trek has the higher mountains and the bigger views. Both areas at this moment you don't need a guide. So my big conclusion, what would I have done? Well, 4 years ago I did the Annapurna Circuit and I wasn't that experienced before. So I'm really happy I did the Annapurna Circuit then because it's a little bit easier and it was really doable for me even though I was not that experienced. And this year I did the Everest Base Camp Trek plus the Gokyo Lakes and I was a lot more experienced and quite a bit more fit as well. And that's why I think I enjoyed this one more now because it has a little bit better views, but it's quite a lot more exhausting than the other trek. So either way, if you're choosing Annapurna or you're choosing the Everest Base Camp Trek, both hikes are beautiful and you will have a great time. The Nepali culture is beautiful and you will just enjoy every day. So you can't really make a wrong choice, but I hope this helps you to decide which one you should do.